Hello team, how's it going? Welcome back to a new video. So today I want to talk to you about purchasing a property while in the military and how it can be easier than you think to get on a property ladder while you're serving. It's actually most probably the best time to get on a property ladder, and I'll explain in this video why. But before we start, make sure you click that subscription button, turn notifications bell on and give us a thumbs up because it really helps this video and with the algorithm. So let's get into it then. When it comes to purchasing a property while you're in the military, there's a few pros and there's a few cons, just like everything. Let's start off with the main negative, okay? The hardest thing for most people while serving the military, especially for the junior ranks, will be the income. So with your income, you're only going to be able to afford so much because the lenders will basically multiply your income by a certain number depending on how much you earn and how big your deposit is, sort of what's your visa status, etc. So there's a few sort of variables that come into that. The Bank of England have just got rid of the stress test now, so we could see some changes with the lenders on how this could sort of work in the future. But at the minute, no changes have come forward and it is pretty set. And you'll be looking at around 4.5 to 5.5 times your income. Once again, depending on how much you earn, how big your deposit is, and it depends on your visa status as well on certain lenders. So income is going to be one problem sort of within the military, but we can slightly make up some of that because of some of the positives we have while serving, and you can use other people's income. So if you have a partner and you're looking to buy together, you can then use both your incomes. So if you earn 30 grand a year and your partner earns 30 grand a year, you then got 60 grand a year, and then you get using multipliers on that. You've got things like now like joint borough sole proprietors, so you could get your parents to come along as long as they're not too old and they fit within the maximum age. You could actually use their income. They go onto the mortgage. They won't be on the mortgage deed, so the property is yours, but they can help their affordability, so their income can go towards the affordability to boost your income so you can get a bigger loan. So there's another way that you can do it. You've also got, just by having a bigger deposit, the bigger deposit, as I mentioned earlier, sometimes will increase the income multiple. And in the army, it's something that you can do. I never did this and I massively regret it, but you've got loads of sort of disposable income. You most probably hear when you're younger, you've got disposable income, blah, have fun, enjoy the army. Actually, what we need is financial sort of lessons, okay? You're young, you get all this money, you have pretty much no outgoings apart from around £70 for a room, sometimes cheaper, and you've got to buy some food. The rest of your money is your own. And I wish I saved a lot more than I did. Because even if you only put £100 to £200 away when you join at say 16 or 18, if you're sort of a junior, earlier joiner, if you did that for around 5 to 10 years, you could save a good chunk of money, especially if you put it into sort of stocks and shares ISA, a lifetime ISA where you get a bonus, or somewhere where you can get a good sort of return on it instead of just in a standard easy saver where you're barely going to get any return. You're pretty much going to lose money during inflation. But that's a big one, is sort of increasing your deposit as much as possible. You do get loads of disposable income in the British Army, but please do save it. You then go away on operations and exercise, you get LSA, you used to get op bonuses, but when you're away you can save that money. And so instead of wasting it when you come back, just save a third of it, or a quarter of it, or a fifth of it, and actually save some money. The sort of earlier you buy the property, sort of the better investment it would be, especially when you're in the army, because you've got consent to let, which I'll go on to in a second. So if you saved £250 per month over 5 years, that's actually £15,000 without any sort of interests or any sort of inflation. If you put it in a stocks and shares ISA and invested it, you could get a 4 to 6% return each year, possibly, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. You know, see a financial advisor about that. But it is a way of saving money. Can you imagine? Over 5 years, you could save £15,000 just from putting £250 away each month, which is actually easily doable, especially if you're sort of a junior single soldier. £250, you have over £1,000 worth of disposable income as it is, especially once you've made it out of phase 1 and phase 2. So you've got that. You then also got the forces help to buy to help boost your deposit. And me personally, my own personal opinion is I would recommend everyone using this, just because it's an interest-free loan. So the British, well, not the army, but the government, the MOD, will give military personnel an interest-free loan to put towards deposit and fees for a property, and it can be up to half your annual salary. So even if you had 15-20 grand saved up and you were putting that down as a deposit, you could take out the forces help to buy loan, because then you're going to save interest on the mortgage. So then you could say you earn £30,000 as a corporal, lance corporal, sort of like maxed out lance corporal, and a new sort of corporal, £30,000. You could take an interest-free loan out of £15,000. The £15,000, £20,000 you've already saved up over 5 to 10 years, putting around £200 to £250 away, is then going to boost that deposit around to 30 to 35. And for a 10% deposit of £30,000, that's a £300,000 property. You then get £270,000 loan. If you and your partner, you could look to do that. Even if it wasn't, if it was only you purchasing, you could get around 4.5 times around £30,000 plus the £30,000 deposit. You're looking at over £150,000 property. So it is a good way of doing it, because you could pretty much double your deposit. Just one thing to be aware of is the forces help to buy loan. The expenditure, the outgoing, the cost of that each month will be classed as an outgoing when you go to get the loan. So some lenders will deduct more because it will be classed as an outgoing. And the way you work out that outgoing for that is it has to be paid off over 10 years. So basically get the loans divided by 120, which is 120 months, and then that will be your monthly payment, and that's how a lender and a mortgage advisor will work out the outgoing for that. Why it's also good to get a property while you're in the army is lenders are very understanding when it comes to military personnel. So there's something out there called consent to let, and it's very good for military personnel. So if you go away overseas in operations, or for sort of a longer exercise, maybe you went to Estonia, or you brought a property down in Bulford because that's where you're based, and you're now getting posted to Knightsbridge or Harrogate or wherever for the next 2 years, you can then apply for consent to let through your lender, which will then give you permission to let your property out. So you can rent your property out for however long you are away. And they are a lot more understanding when it comes to military personnel, because they understand that you can go away all the time. So more than likely it will get accepted pretty much every time. Sometimes as the rate increases, but even with military personnel, they're actually a lot more understanding, and you might not even see a rate increase. So your interest rate will stay the same. You'll be able to rent your property out, have an income to help pay the mortgage while you live up, say up north if you bought the property down south, or if it was the other way around, or you went on tour, you went overseas, or you got posted to Kenya, or wherever it was, you'd be able to rent out the property, so you wouldn't have to sell it or continue to pay the mortgage while you were away. Also, another big one is you just have loads of disposable income. If you can just save it, if you can get on the property ladder while you're young in the army, I wish I did. Do it while you're young, don't wait. I had a friend who did it. His parents pretty much forced him to buy a property when he was like 18, 19 in Colchester. He then sold it 10 years later, and I think he made around £100,000 on the property, if I remember rightly. Speak to family and friends. You know, you got gifted deposit nowadays. If you're due inheritance, or you're quite lucky and your parents are quite wealthy, you could do something like a gifted deposit, where a family member can gift you a deposit. All they have to do is sign a letter to say that they want no interest in the property, and this is a gift and they don't want the money back. They could then give you as much as they wanted to, say £20,000, £5,000, £100,000 worth of sort of cash to you, and you can put that down as a deposit for a house. So say you had £15,000 but your parents wanted to double it, they could then give you £15,000, and you've actually got a deposit of £30,000 to then go towards a property. Remember, it's your whole household income that gets taken into consideration. So Once again, use your partner. So if you have got a partner, remember you can use your combined income. So if you both earn £30,000, you've actually got £60,000. That will then become sort of multiplied to work out the maximum sort of borrowing that you can do. What you need to be aware of though is when you're looking to take out this loan, sort of commitments can decrease the amount that you may be able to borrow. Every lender sort of works it out slightly different, but having children, so dependents, and then other credit commitments, so whether that's monthly credit cards that you don't pay off, so you pay monthly for that, an overdraft, unsecured sort of personal loans, cars on finance is a big one within the military. Everyone's driving around in a BMW, Audi, Mercedes, spending £300-400 a month. That's a sort of big commitment and big outgoing. So then you will be able to, then the lender will take that into consideration, and then you may they may not lend you as much, okay, because that's an outgoing. So then they're going to work that out with an affordability. So just be careful when you're young in the army, going to get massive, like expensive cars on finance, credit cards, loans. Try and sort of keep your credit commitments as low as possible and just pay for things with cash up front. But yeah, don't be silly with your money when you're younger. Save it. You've got a good amount of disposable income. If you've got a partner, you can use their income. If you've got parents that want to help, you can now get them on the mortgage. There's lenders out there that will do that. You can use their income to boost your income. Think about gifted deposits. Look into the Forces Help to Buy. It's a case that's an interest-free loan. It's a very small monthly outgoing sometimes. It is taken into consideration, but it can definitely boost the property purchase if you say you want to borrow £10,000-15,000 because you're not going to be paying interest on it. So really take these things into consideration. Buy a property while you're sort of young in the army is my sort of what I wish I'd done. It's a great investment, okay, it's where you're going to sort of make the money. You've got things like consent to let, so don't worry if you're going to get sent away, you can rent it out, so you're not losing money or think you're going to have to sell it. It is hard time buying properties at the minute, but it's actually, being in the military is one of the easiest. You've got a secure income that pretty much lenders know you've got secure income, so you've just got to provide some pay slips. You're in a very good place. Okay, the yearly wage isn't the best, but there's many ways that we can look at boosting that now, and lenders are always sort of coming up with like new criteria on how to boost it. You know, if your partner receives a gross annual salary, you receive a gross annual salary, but your partner receives overtime, commission, bonuses, that can all be taken into consideration depending on how it is received, how guaranteed it is. So always let your broker know or the lender know that your partner receives overtime, bonuses and stuff like that. So there's many ways that you can boost your income to sort of maximize the amount you can borrow. But yeah, my biggest advice is purchase a property while you're in the army and do not wait. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let us know what you're going to see next, and I'll see you soon.